Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me begin by apologizing to those who have been waiting, particularly online. We had a little technical difficulty, but we've now solved that. My name is Tom Watson. I'm the chair of the Prescott Park Master Plan Implementation Committee. I'd like to open the meeting and begin with a roll call of attendees. So I'm going to ask each of you to give your full name for the benefit of the people who are either online who may be watching this on TV later date. Hopefully not too many people will be watching on TV. Why don't we begin with you, Beth?
Yes, Beth Margison.
Assistant Mayor Joanna Kelly.
I'm not a member.
Oh, Robin Lori Meyerkoff.
Okay. And as I said, Tom Watson. Genevieve is excused because she got caught up in the flight mess over the weekend, and so we've excused her attendance. And I'd ask other people to also announce who you are, so the record will reflect that.
Peter Rice, Director of Public Works.
And Joe Almeida, Facilities Manager.
And Cassie, you want to tell us who you are?
Hi, I'm Cassie Bethany. I'm from Weston and Sampson and project manager on Prescott Park Phase 1 improvements.
Okay. Who else is on the Zoom meeting other than members of the public who wants to be recognized?
Cassie, do you have other staff members that you wanted to have promoted to panelists? And
No, just me here.
Okay. All right. I will declare that there is a quorum, and we'll proceed with the meeting. Before we get to the substance of the meeting, and as I promised everybody, this will be a very short meeting. We have a very discrete issue we need to discuss and hopefully resolve, which comes to us relatively recently, an opportunity. But before doing that, I'd like to welcome the Assistant Mayor as a new member of the committee.
Thank you. I'm very excited to join the committee.
We've got lots of background stuff if you decide to want to.
Lots of catching up to do.
Welcome. Again, the purpose today, well, let me just drop back. So the last time the committee met was on December 13th, at which time we heard a number of, or received a fair amount of data from our consultants about some of the structural analysis and the testing, environmental related testing that was done, the test pits, that type of thing. And as a result of that, we tweaked the plan a little bit, primarily relating to the relocation of Shaw Warehouse, the addition of to the Shaw Warehouse, and relocating the stage, the seasonal stage in that same rail, if you will, where the Shaw presently sits. Since that time, our consultants have continued to work up the specifics of or I should say, the actual design components of Phase 1. And in the course of doing that, an opportunity for some funding for Phase 1 has come forward. And I don't want to sort of steal the fire from Cassie, but there's some opportunity for some state money that will be available this spring, or at least the decision will be made this spring for improvements in infrastructure and related improvements that will improve climate resiliency. And that, of course, we know is a big issue in this park because it sits on the river. So with that, I will turn it over to Cassie to tell us where we're at.
Thank you, Tom. So I saw this interesting opportunity come through my email through the New Hampshire Coastal Adaptation Working Group. And it's a grant that is spearheaded by the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services. It's actually funded by the America Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, if you're familiar with that. And it's being administered by New Hampshire DES. It is focused on applications for flood resilience and stormwater management, and it's only eligible applicants are New Hampshire municipalities within the 42 communities that constitute the coastal watershed. So, of course, I thought Prescott Park would be a perfect fit for this grant. There are 2 areas where you can make an application. There's an implementation application, which is $100,000, and it's focused mostly on final design, permitting, and construction. And then I'm sorry, I misspoke. There's a planning and assessment phase, which is design focused, and that's $100,000, and not to exceed amount. And then we have implementation, which is final design, permitting, and construction. We were thinking of going for the full $2.5 million request for construction purposes, which would certainly help. And the request would be focused on all of the resiliency strategies that we're putting in place within the phase 1 improvements. As you know, the resiliency goals of the park improvements are focused in phase 1. So it seems to be a perfect fit based on their examples that they included, where we check many of the boxes, like upgrading tidal culverts, improving drainage infrastructure, deployable flood barriers, which is our seawall, and not deployable, but in addition to flood proofing the Shaw, raising and relocating would fall under this category as well, the Shaw warehouse. So I think we have a strong application. I've been working to develop it. And part of this request and why we're here today is that part of the application is a letter of support from stakeholders who are interested in seeing these improvements happen. And of course, the Blue Ribbon Committee is we would love a letter of support, of course, from this committee. We are also, we requested a letter of support from the Arts Festival, and Weston and Sampson and Tolucan are providing letters of commitment, which are also required as part of the application. I'm happy to answer any other questions, but that's a high-level overview.
And when is the deadline? Why don't you tell the committee when the deadline is for submitting this material?
Sure. Applications are due on April 15th, so the end of next week.
And you need a letter of support or whatever letters of support you're going to acquire by that date as well, right?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions about the process or the amount of the grant? Or
Just a question, what about the other users of the park, the New Hampshire Art Association and Gundalow? Have they been approached?
We have not approached them yet. We were thinking for the resiliency focus, the Arts Festival is the most affected by that. If this committee feels that that those groups should be approached, we can certainly do that.
Well, I mean, I'll leave it up to you folks and your discretion. I don't want to slow anything down, but I thought, maybe not the Art Association, because they set up in the sheaf, but the Gundalow, because of what they do. But certainly if that's going to slow the process, then that's fine. I was just curious more than anything else.
How many letters of support are normal in this type of grant situation?
That's a great question. This is the first grant of its kind because it's coming from ARPA funding. So there is no guidance on number of letters of support.
So maybe to Beth's point, maybe approaching one or two of those organizations.
yeah, we'll follow up on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they have to meet as a board and stuff, and they may not be able to pull it off in time, so it's just a thought.
Good point. Other questions?
I just
I
think
would
this is a real
add
big
to,
opportunity. I mean, it seems kind of ridiculous not to. go for it if we can.
No, absolutely.
Exactly.
You were going to say, Cassie?
Oh, two things to add. First, there was a workshop webinar that I attended earlier this month talking about the details of the grant. They do look favorably upon applications that reach a large group. So if there are ways that we can impress upon the reviewers of the applications that of the amount of impact that will be solving or having, I guess, that would be looked upon favorably. They also like to, they will provide up to 2.5 million. We could make the request for 2.5 million and they could agree to that. They could also award an amount up to that full value, depending on what how they'd like to break up the awards. The total value of the full ARPA funding is 4.5 million. So they haven't yet decided if they're going to award a few large projects like ours would be, or if they're going to award many smaller projects or some combination therein.
Okay.
I think in terms of impacts, like large impacts, it's, the resiliency is also for the benefit of all the South End and also Strawberry Bank.
Right.
That's primarily, from what I remember, the resiliency features were really to help not just the park, but everyone in the South End. So,
Would getting a letter of support from Strawberry Bank be too outside the bounds of what we're looking for? Because that's a really good point. Strawberry Bank is,
Strawberry Bank is ground zero.
Yeah, right, exactly. But they're also really well-known in the state and a big entity.
Also, I suppose, how about the South End Neighborhood Association?
Oh, Fosse?
Yeah.
I can ask them.
Are you
I don't
on
want
that?
to, no, I'm not, I'm paid, but I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not in any leadership position. I don't even know who's the president or anything, but
Is it still Mary and Esther?
it could just be Mary, I think, Mary Thomas, but I can ask, but again, I don't want to, if they can pull it together in time, like, it's due the 15th, Cassie, so
Right.
you would have to be postmarked the 15th, or submitted on a portal the 15th.
Well, it would be submitted as
It's-
part of the
it's-
package.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's an online application and it needs to be uploaded. I would be doing the upload by 4 p.m.
okay, alrighty. I'll reach out to Fosse.
I'd
and see
love
what
to
they
not
say.
be
I mean,
doing
you're on
it
the
at
board of Strawberry Bank,
3:59.
right? You're not? Oh, you were?
I am.
Okay. Well, good.
I was about 20 years ago.
You were? I haven't kept up with you.
All right, well, so let's kind of do this, assuming we're going to vote in a minute to actually issue a letter of approval, of support. If you could reach out to the South End, and if
Yes, I
that's
will.
something, then if they need some questions, have them put them in touch with Cassie.
Would you like me to reach out to Strawberry Bank?
Sure, that would be great.
Want me to reach out to Gundalow? Do you think? that's
Absolutely,
important?
if you get a
Yep,
connection there,
yep,
so.
yep.
And just, probably the best thing to do would be to, if that's something they can do, I don't know, like the Strawberry Bank Board comes from all over the place, so it might be difficult, but it may be something that Larry or somebody could just issue on its own without having to go through a board approval. And again, this is just nobody's being asked to commit to something. This is just supporting the city's application. Even if they grant make the grant to the city council would still have to accept it. The terms would be negotiated in a grant agreement, that type of thing. So it doesn't require the formality of some type of a formal vote. It's just sort of a statement of support because of the improvements in resiliency.
Could we get sent on email some specific language so we're clear about what we're asking for in this letter of support?
Sure, absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. So what I would like to entertain is a motion that this committee issue a letter of support for the application. And what I would suggest is that, the motion would include my working out the language with Cassie and Joe for the actual letter. because we won't have a chance to get back together to approve the actual letter. But I think it's just a vote to support the application that is the most important thing.
Do you need public comment first before the motion?
Yeah. Yeah, we probably should do that. I know we have one person. And this is our only item of business, so why don't we set that aside? And Peter, if you'd like to speak to this, or you just want to make general comment?
I can just make a general comment.
Okay, all right. Then,
My general comment, this is fantastic, go for it.
thank you. All right. Is there anybody on the Zoom call who would like to comment on this motion before it's made? Okay. So now I'll entertain a motion to issue a letter of approval for the application, grant application, and to authorize me to work with Joe and Cassie in actually crafting the letter.
So moved.
Okay? Do we hear a
Seconded.
second? All right. Any further discussion about motion?
No?
Or hearing none? And we don't need a roll call because we don't have any committee members. Okay. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Any against? Unanimous. Excellent. Okay.
Thanks, Cassie, for finding that.
Thank you, Cassie.
Great diligence.
And I'll follow up with you on
welcome.
the draft. Peter, is there
Let's
anything
hope
else
we
you'd
get
like
it.
to comment on?
No, that was it, thank you.
Okay. All right, before I entertain a motion to adjourn, I want to just pass out, because I know people have asked about this in the past. This is the sign that will go up in the park. You can see it is finished. It's been finished for a while. Joe's been working with our, you need one, Peter?
Thank you guys for doing this. This has been something that I've wanted for a while, so I really appreciate it. It's great.
So, Joe, you can give us a more precise update, but at least as of the end of last week, working with trying to get the,
Yeah, it is, the sign has been printed. It's waiting for me to pick it up. It's a very large sign. It's 4 feet by 8 feet.
Oh, wow.
But I do need to, have the staff carpenter build a structure to mount it onto. And that person is very busy, so we are working hard to get this to the top of his priority list. And,
Yeah. We're working on it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
well-
it's not something I can just simply clip to a fence
Yeah.
over there, because it's a
Well-
wonderful sign, but it's very large and it's informative, but I want to make sure that it's.
We'll get it up before the season really kicks in.
Oh, yes.
yeah, well, and that's really what counts. is
Absolutely.
Before people show up.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Any other questions at all?
Where will this
wanna
be
thank
placed?
you.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry. Where will this be placed?
I'm drawing a blank right now, to be determined. I don't think we've settled on an exact location of it. I know that there are areas of the park we wanted to place it, but.
As I recall, the committee thought that the entrance up on State Street
That's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah,
was the area
Because
that
that's
was-
really where people come into the
Right.
park.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I mean, from my view.
that was my recollection, so.
yeah,
Is there one or two of these?
one.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the consensus, that will get the greatest exposure. Okay,
And thanks for Joe and Peter for working on this, because I think this is really a great thing. This is, what,
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a good, just another way to have people access information.
exactly. There's so many, as we know, there's so many rumors that spread very quickly about things, so it's nice to have some facts.
Yep.
and I've been working with Cassie on getting sort of an updated diagram of the master plan reflecting the various changes that have been made. So that will be on this site, so we won't have the problem that has happened at past meetings where people come up and they're asking questions about an earlier version of the plan. So that should be available, by the time we put this sign up.
Great.
Okay, any other new business, or,
No.
okay, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you all.
This is probably one of the best meetings I have attended in a very long time.